The Star Wars prequel trilogy really divided the fandom. Some people hate it, some people love it. I really love it. If you've been watching my videos this year, I have assaulted the shit-ass sequel trilogy. I have put all my effort into convincing the world that those 3 movies are garbage. The prequels, though, I find to be real entertaining. Now, they aren't perfect. I think they could have been better, but they are acceptable and fun to watch. I'm going to start covering more prequel era stuff on this channel. Here is my review of the Phantom Menace. Already in the opening crawl, they are talking about trade routes and politics. You've already lost some of your target audience because they don't have a brain. I was a kid at the time, and initially I thought it was stupid that Palpatine said, "I will make it legal." I thought, he's a villain, he doesn't have to play by the rules. But you know, kids are stupid and don't understand how things work. Immediately, you know Palpatine is pulling some strings. We see Obi-Wan Kenobi and his master Qui-Gon Jinn. Obi-Wan isn't a Jedi but a Padawan. This is really interesting. The battle droids attack the Jedi. I like the addition of the droids in place of the stormtroopers. It's something different. And this was before the Empire was created. Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan show us some things with the Force we've never seen before. At this point, I probably jizzed my pants at least twice. We saw Force push, Force speed, deflecting multiple blaster shots with their lightsabers. We saw Qui-Gon use his lightsaber to burn through a door. The Jedi escape and find themselves on Naboo, which is where all the action will take place. They run into Jar Jar Binks. Now everyone fucking hated Jar Jar Binks. I never hated him. Was he my favorite character? No, but I never had any issue with him. The Gungans, however, didn't appear to be essential to the story. They could have been written out. I only wonder what they could have done with the extra screen time. The Jedi make it to the Queen's palace. They decide to fly a ship out of there to Coruscant, the galaxy capital. The ship takes a blaster shot, damaging it. They have to land on Tatooine so they can fix their ship. This leads Qui-Gon Jinn to Anakin Skywalker. A lot of people hated Jake Lloyd. I thought he was okay. I do think the movie would have been better had he been a few years older. I also think a lot of what happened in The Phantom Menace didn't necessarily need to happen. It really just took away from the story of Anakin Skywalker. In The Phantom Menace, Anakin gets very little development. I'll make another video about that. All the Palpatine hologram scenes in this movie are fucking brilliant. This scene where he's walking with Darth Maul is Oscar-worthy.
Tatooine is sparsely populated. If the trace was correct, I will find them quickly, Master.
Move against the Jedi first. You will then have no difficulty in taking the Queen to Naboo to sign the treaty.
At last we will reveal ourselves to the Jedi. At last we will have revenge.
You have been well trained, my young apprentice. They will be no match for you.
No match for them? Palpatine wasn't kidding. Maul is the real deal and fucks them up later in the movie. This scene is by far better than any of the fucking shit we got in the sequel trilogy. Anything we got. Qui-Gon takes an interest in Anakin. He tests his midichlorian level and it's the highest ever recorded. A lot of people were upset about the midichlorians. I don't think it's a big deal. Are you familiar with Dragon Ball Z? For a time they had power levels. Now they don't. The story is still the same. It's all about power scaling, not their definitive power level. And so instead of using the Force to just steal Anakin and his mother, Qui-Gon makes a wager. If Anakin wins the pod race, he leaves with him. If he loses, he's fucked. I seem to be doing this a lot with this video. A lot of people didn't like pod racing. I think the pod racing was unique. This is the first time we'll see it. It will probably be the last time. The important thing that people don't recognize is how difficult it is to be in a pod race, specifically for humans. Anakin stated he's the only human that can do it. The reason he can do it is because of his latent Force abilities. He's able to see things before they happen, so it's because of his latent Force abilities he's able to win the pod race. Before we leave, Darth Maul runs into Qui-Gon. We got a nice teaser of what is to come later in the movie. Qui-Gon escapes onto the ship and is out of breath. To this point, they thought the Sith had been extinct for a millennium, so this attack was extremely random and highly fucked up. The Jedi make it to Coruscant, the galaxy capital. I love this planet. I want to move here. Every shot of this planet is beautiful. Then they take Anakin to the Jedi Council. This is an amazing scene. We see Yoda. We see Samuel L. Jackson. We know these Jedi are powerful and wise. They say Anakin is too old and won't be trained. They sense fear in him. Take a look at this frame. This is right after Mace Windu says Anakin won't be trained. Anakin is pissed. He traveled all this way, left his mom, and now they're saying he won't be trained? He already doesn't like Mace Windu in this very scene. The conversation afterwards with Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan is important. You learn Qui-Gon could be on the council, but he's just a rebel. He's more in tune with the Force than the council is. Meanwhile, Palpatine has really exposed the current chancellor as fake news. He gets him thrown out of office. Palpatine is from Naboo. He uses the conflict on Naboo to gain sympathy votes. He's able to get himself elected as Chancellor of the Galaxy. So again, I'd like to point out a lot of people were turned off by this movie because of the politics. That's because you don't have a brain. Because the political system is broken, Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan take everyone back to Naboo to help fight off the invasion. I don't know why Qui-Gon took Anakin with him. Maybe the Force was telling him to, but he essentially brought a child into a war zone. They get to Naboo, they immediately encounter Darth Maul, and we get the music, Duel of Fates. Fucking amazing. We get a long, drawn-out fight of lightsaber dueling, acrobatics, force jumps. It was fantastic. If you think about it, we never got anything this cool in the original trilogy. Luke was a Padawan. Vader wasn't really trying in any of the fights with Luke. The Darth Maul fight is cut with a few other action scenes. They're okay, but it's really all about the Darth Maul fight. Anakin ends up blowing up the Trade Federation ship. It was a Gary Stu move, but you had to give him something to do. Darth Maul is able to separate himself and get Qui-Gon one-on-one and slices and dices him. Obi-Wan gets a crack at him. He does well, but is basically defeated. Somehow he catches Darth Maul off guard and pulls off a ridiculous force jump flip and slices Maul in half with Qui-Gon's lightsaber. It's at this point Obi-Wan could force heal Qui-Gon, but he doesn't do it, because force healing only exists in the non-canon sequel trilogy. Ultimately, Yoda agrees that Obi-Wan could train Anakin. I'm not sure why. If the boy is dangerous, he's dangerous. Qui-Gon dying shouldn't affect that. But it does, and I really like how the movie ends. It's sad Qui-Gon is dead, but Naboo won, Palpatine won, Obi-Wan is now a Jedi, Anakin is going to start training. Overall, The Phantom Menace was a good movie. It was far better than anything in the garbage sequel trilogy. I think the biggest flaw, and I'll have to make a separate video about this, is it didn't help to progress the story. The prequels are about Anakin's turn to the dark side and the Clone Wars. That's covered in episode 2 and 3, but that's really rushed in those movies. They could have used 3 movies for that. The Phantom Menace seems like it should have been a prequel to episode 1. It goes too far back. We could have started with Anakin already training with the Jedi in episode 1. Let me know what you think in the comments. What did you like about The Phantom Menace? What did you hate about it? Become a knight, subscribe to the channel.
Dark side of the Force is a pathway to many abilities some consider unnatural.